United with Christ. Meet local churches with open doors serving throughout the Border Valley community and sharing the truth and hope of God's love and salvation. A presentation by KSCE Channel 38 Christian Television. And now, United with Christ.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here. My name is Maritza Hernandez. Thank you to the TV station for giving me this opportunity once again. And let's start with a brief prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day. Thank you for having us here. I do have a guest here with me, and I'll introduce her. And we want to reach out to as many people as we can this morning. In the name of Jesus, we ask and we pray. Amen. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Maritza Hernandez, and I am with Child Protective Services, which is CPS, and I am the faith-based specialist. We do have a faith-based ministry through the state of Texas. It started in August of 2015, and we have been doing this for about 3 years. We do have, basically what it is, it's the connection of the child welfare system with the church community, with the faith community, and that connection can be helpful. Churches can help us in so many ways, and so that's basically what it is. Right now we have about 45 churches in El Paso connected to CPS in some way or another. And, when I call clergy and pastors every day, this is what my job consists of. I make an appointment with them and I introduce the program to them. And so, that the ways to connect, it could be a variety of ways. As I mentioned, it could be prayer, it could be relational. So if you're interested in hearing about the program, do contact me, please. I am available all the time. I can be at your church on weekends or after hours or during business hours. My phone number is 915-309-3595, and this is my cell phone. My office number is 915-521-3961. Excuse me, I have a little cold or a sore throat. But my phone number, once again, my cell number is 915-309-3595. With me this morning is one of my very good friends, and she is from CASA. Her name is Sandy Moody. And she will talk about the CASA program. And she also has a very personal story to share with all of us. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, Maritza, and to the station for having me. I really appreciate all of that. And thank you for mentioning the prayer and everything. I really appreciate it. As Maritza said, my name is Sandy Moody. I am from CASA of El Paso, the court-appointed special advocates. And what we do is we train volunteers from the community to advocate for the needs of children that are in the foster care system right here in the county. And we work hand in hand with CPS, with Child Protective Services. So it works really, really well. We have about 175 volunteers, advocates who advocate for children that are in foster care, which on any given day, I'm going to pull a number out. I usually go with about 350 kids on any given day. I think it's higher than that. But there's a lot of need for foster parents, adoptive parents, and also volunteer advocates through CASA. And that's actually how I started working with CASA. Is I became a volunteer and advocated for 3 children that were in care. And the main goal is to put these kids back with mom and dad, and that actually happened within about 13 months. They actually went back to mom and dad, and they completed everything they needed to complete on their case plan that was given to them by Child Protective Services and the judge. And the judge agreed to give those children back to mom and dad. And that was 7 years ago. Sounds like a long time. But we haven't heard from them since. And that's really what we want to have happen, is give those families the tools to succeed, and so that they can do what they need to do with their own lives and kind of stay out of CPS's kind of purview. So But we're always looking for good qualified volunteers, as CPS is always looking for foster parents. So I have to put a plug in for that.
Yes.
It's a little
Thank
close
you.
to my heart. But we're always looking for good qualified volunteers. And those volunteers are going to be folks that are at least 21 years old. They can pass an extensive background check and commit to us for at least 18 months. Those cases with Child Protective Services sometimes last that long.
Yes,
Sometimes they
correct.
last longer, but we try to get things done. We try to encourage the families to get things done within 12 to 18 months. And then we have a training class. So if folks are out there thinking about volunteering somewhere, not really sure, maybe CASA is the way to go. We do provide good training, 30 hours of training, and then ongoing training and a volunteer supervisor to help that volunteer advocate kind of learn the ropes and see how it is, because it can be pretty intimidating being in the courtroom. I remember as a volunteer, deer in the headlights, not knowing what's going on. And I think it's important to know it's hard to hear in there. For me anyway, I'm like, what'd they say? So it's really important. But so CASA is a great program. You can check us out on the website at www.casaofelpaso.org. And if you need to reach me, I'm available almost 24 hours a day. I'm at 915-225-5214, extension 109. And I do work via cell phone. I'm out and about. I can do the same things that Maritza does on a Sunday, catch up, meet with your church folks, whoever makes all the decisions, and then we can come to a church service.
Yes.
We've done that before, where I stay the whole service. I want to get to know the congregation and get to know what kind of people are there and what their needs are as well, and see if maybe we can kind of put those needs together, because to kind of help it out. But we've done presentations
Yes,
at
we've done
churches
it
on
together.
Sundays, on Wednesdays, whenever.
Yes.
We're available pretty much whenever.
And you
so.
touched a good point there about those children returning home.
Yes.
And yes, those children do belong with their parents.
Yes.
They do. They do not belong in foster care.
I agree.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have said this many times. The state of Texas is not a good parent. They belong to their parents.
Their parents, yes.
Yes.
And I believe that parents, all of our kids that come to us have been abused and neglected in some way by a parent or maybe a caregiver. Even though that has happened, I do believe that parents do love their children,
Yes,
no matter
they
what
do.
the circumstances. And a lot of times we can get those families back together. Sometimes other issues, drugs and alcohol, sometimes just has too much of a hold on them, and it's challenging. It's hard. It's hard for the children. It's trauma.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah.
I've seen commercials lately on for the CASA. I've seen those commercials, and yes, it's court-appointed special advocates.
Yep.
Yes, I know people say, "What is CASA? What is CASA? Does it mean a home?"
Yes.
And it's court-appointed special advocates.
Yes.
Yes.
So those volunteers are actually sworn in by the judge. They have to meet certain requirements in order to be a court-appointed special advocate. And that includes all those background checks, references, attending the classes, court observations. We want to have folks be able to see what goes on in the courtroom before they actually get sworn in with the judge. And then when they're appointed to a case, they're appointed by the judge. And so that's a big deal. They've got that piece of paper that says they have access to pretty much everything that has to do with that child. And so that's a pretty big responsibility for our volunteers. So
Yes. And you've mentioned this before. CASA has been the constant in the child's life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's what we really want to strive for, is that we have that one volunteer stay on that case the entire duration of the case. Sometimes caseworkers change with CPS. Sometimes foster homes don't quite work out, and you have a child that's placed in a home and then they have to be moved.
Yes.
We want them to at least know one person through the whole thing. And so that's where the CASA comes in. And, they look for you. Believe me, my case, they were looking for me. My little boy, his first foster home didn't work out. And so Child Protective Services caseworker called me and said, hey, here's the address. They already know that you're going to call them. And so I called, and I got to the door, and the foster mom answered, and the kid ran up to the door and kind of looked at me. Miss Sandy, how'd you know I was here? And of course, in my fun voice, I look down and I'm like, I know everything. I don't really, but that's how I knew that little boy was looking for, like, I'd made an impact on his life, but clearly he made an impact on mine because I'm still talking about him 7 years later.
Yes.
So
What a
I still think
wonderful-
about him. He's almost 18 now.
Wow, what a wonderful, wonderful story.
So, yeah.
Yes. And so the training, how long is your training with CASA?
So our training is approximately 30 hours. And
30
so
hours,
we
okay.
do about 20 hours face-to-face in our classroom, in our offices downtown. And so we've got a training director who does all of that training. And then we bring in folks from CPS. Sonia Avila has come and talked with us. We talk about crime victims compensation. We also talk about stories. We've been around a while. We've got some stories of some issues that these volunteer advocates might have never run into, possibly. So we talk about stories. We, and then we go to the courthouse and we observe courtroom hearings. And sometimes we get courtroom hearings where it's a termination of parental rights. I mean, those are very interesting to hear, and those are hours-long hearings, hours upon hours. And then other times we see hearings where everything's agreed to, and they're real quick, and everything's going to stay the same. Parents are going to have the same visitation. We'll be back in 3 months. So we have a lot of that. So we also have some online training as well. That's kind of pre-work before we get you in the classroom. So.
And that's good to mention that you are always seeking volunteers.
Always.
Just as CPS. CPS is always seeking volunteers
Yes.
as well. So volunteers can help us in a variety
Many
of
ways.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing is that, when you're in volunteering and you're just giving of yourself selflessly, which we already know that our folks in the church already do that. And so that's like an easy, it's easy.
Yes.
They already know what's
Yes.
going on. It's easy.
Yes. And you mentioned us doing presentations together. Yes, we have. We did. Yes, we've done. We were at Vista Hills
Yes.
Church.
Yes.
On a Sunday, and we presented. You presented on CASA, and I presented on the CPS faith-based program.
Yep.
And that was very successful.
It was.
Yes.
And we didn't, we stayed for the whole service, and we did a little bit in the middle, maybe 8 minutes, maybe that long.
Yes.
And then the service continues on, and we stay after, so that, folks that are interested, you can talk to us. We'll stay as long as you want us to. Mostly because we feel that this is important work. Yes. And, I tell folks, I'm like, don't tell anybody, but I really love my job.
Yes.
I love my job.
Yes.
And it really fulfills that piece of me that I want to give back a little bit. So, so we love it.
Yes,
So
yes. I love
we'll
my
talk for
job
hours.
as well. Yes, faith-based program is yes, I love it. I'm very passionate about it, and I've seen it work in other areas of Texas, and so it's very successful, and it's working in other areas.
Yes.
In other areas of Texas, and even in El Paso, as I mentioned, we do have about 45 churches connected.
It's working.
And they sometimes they do a back to school drive for us. Sometimes they do a blanket drive for us. I know of a church presently that is doing baby bottles, a drive for that.
Cool.
I was like,
Okay.
That's clever. Yes.
We'll take it.
Yes, we'll take it.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. And do you want to share your personal story?
So I got involved in CASA about, like I said, 7 years ago, and I ended up with that one case with he was cute. There were 3, but he was cute, and so I got involved with that, and then I ended up moving with my husband at the time and moving to Kentucky, and I ended up doing foster care, and I really feel that if I hadn't done CASA, I might not have been prepared for foster care. It's really challenging, very rewarding, very challenging. My son, who's not now my son, we adopted him 3 years ago in October, last month, on the 27th. I picked him up from the hospital. His parents had some issues, and unfortunately the issues took hold of them, and they were not able to parent my little boy. And so I've had him since the second day he was born, and I've been his mommy since then. So, but it was hard, it was challenging, but I felt as if I gave what I could give for the biological parents. I was very open with the caseworker, with CPS, and the biological parents. I never gave them my phone number, but I always let them know, if you need something, reach out to the caseworker. If you can't make visitation, we'll switch it. Because I wanted to give them the opportunity, really. Don't get me wrong, I love this little boy from the second I looked at him, but technically he belonged to them until he didn't, and he belonged to me. So I'm an adoptive mom of a 4-year-old. He keeps me running.
What a beautiful story.
Always running. And I'm his mommy. And, I spend obviously so much time with him, but last night he curled up on my lap and passed out at like 5:30. I'm like, dude, he passed out at 5:30, and I was, all right. So I just sat there because he's 4. And, with kids, he's not going to want to do that all the you have older children, they're in their 20s. They don't want to sit on your lap anymore. No. So I just, and I'm watching a little TV and I'm holding him, and he's, he's my nugget. I love him. And I'm so happy that I was able to sort of build my family through foster care. He's got a few issues, but what kid doesn't? And
exactly.
We're prepared to navigate that, I think. One of the great things about foster to adopt is that when the children do come into care, and if mom and dad aren't able to parent, and the children do get adopted, there's a lot of benefits for that child. And so, one of the things that we were worried about, well, how are we going to pay for college? Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. He's going to get a subsidy to go to college. I have to pay his room and board, but he's going to go to college. He also qualifies for WIC. And so maybe I don't need WIC now. I need it when he's 14, when he's eating everything in my house. But he does qualify for WIC, and he also qualifies for state medical insurance. And so for families that are concerned with the possible cost of foster to adopt, it actually hasn't been too bad, and I would do it again. I would do it again. Of course I would do it again. And I don't have to worry about certain things with my little boy. And if he has special needs or developmental issues, he's got state insurance. He's going to be covered, and that's what's important. And so
that is important.
It's important to note that, and the support that you get.
I love that about you, that you said you were flexible with the family, with his family.
Yes.
And yes, most, well, I don't want to say most, but the parents, sometimes they say, these foster parents are wonderful to my children. I would allow them to adopt. Yes, because they created that bond, the foster parent with the biological parent. And they create that bond, and the biological parents say, I can't parent at this time, but I want those foster parents to adopt my child.
I feel safe with my children there. I think that's it. I think sometimes when we have parents that they can't parent, and they have, like I said before, they have demons that take over, and you never know. You never really know. I feel like part of my job as the foster parent was, they've already been told they kind of are having a rough time at life. And it hasn't been told in that kind of way. It's been told in a very negative way. Let's give them a little something, just not a lot, just a little something to say, you know what, it's not right, but it's going to be okay. And we can take these steps to get there, or we can go down the other road, and it can go very badly. But I feel like it needs to be a collaboration. Foster parents, adoptive parents, maybe even other family members that want to be involved. So, and CPS, plus CASA, plus the court system. It's got to be a collaboration. If we do want to get these kids back to mom and dad, again, some cases that doesn't happen, but I felt like I had to keep that door open for them. I didn't want them to think that that I was just going to run away with their son.
That's such a wonderful story. I love for you to share it. I know you always share it. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you.
And yes, going back to that, the adoption, we do need adoptive parents.
We do.
We do need foster parents in El Paso.
Absolutely.
If people in El Paso obtain their license to adopt, they can view the children available for adoption in the entire state of Texas.
Right.
And I believe we have about 3,600 children waiting for
That's
adoption
a lot of children
in Texas.
And I do want to point something out is that my story, my son, he was born, my story is very abnormal. There are a lot of kids out there that are available that are 12, 13, 14 years old. They need a family too.
They do.
My son needed a family, but those kids need a family too.
Yes.
They need a good, strong family role model. And I do want to point out that you can be a single parent and foster as well.
Yes.
So they just need a good role model to get them through those teenage years, And then think about when they're 18, 19, and maybe when you were 18 or 19. For me, I would drive back home from college and do laundry at my mom and dad's house. Well, you know what? These kids don't have that. And so maybe, if we could just get somebody, a couple of people to take those foster classes, maybe take on those kids that are 12, 13 years old and take them all the way to 18 and maybe just be that home for them to just not do their laundry, but drop their laundry and maybe have a home-cooked meal when they're 18, 19 years old. Because children that are in foster care, we know when they age out, they have a higher rate of homelessness. And that's a whole nother issue. So,
and we know that they end up in the prison systems.
Yes, and
they do. And we do have a lot of teens that are waiting for adoption.
We have a lot in the county.
Yes,
that are ready to go.
And and because we have a lack of foster homes, we do have them without placement. Westside Community Church has graciously provided that room for us. It's called the Jesus Suite. And at this time, we have a child without placement there. She is 15.
Oh, my goodness.
And we cannot find a foster home for her.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I worked yesterday from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. For that shift because there's always two workers supervising that child.
Sure.
And so she's available for adoption. She's 15, and she's a good student. And so my heart breaks when I left there, when I left the church, and this girl was going to go volunteer with the PAL coordinator, with the Preparation for Adult Living coordinator. They both left. They were going to the food bank because they were going to volunteer. And as I left there, my heart was broken. My heart was broken, and I thought, if there's someone out there in El Paso that would be willing to adopt.
She needs a home with a front door and a pillow and a refrigerator, and a TV, and she just needs a place to sit and be a kid.
Yes.
Just to be a kid,
And these children just want to be loved. People talk about, teens, it's they're rebellious, but some of these teens, they just want to be loved.
And they want somebody to talk to.
Yes.
Maybe they need somebody to talk to about their first broken heart. That's what they need, a family. And so I'm a big proponent for that, families.
Yes.
So.
And you mentioned the college and you mentioned all that. And, if children are adopted, they do obtain that tuition waiver in Texas. And some of them have said, well, if I leave and then for the holidays, who do I come back to? Yes, there's no one there for them. Just like our children would come back for Thanksgiving or would come back for
Christmas holiday.
For Christmas holidays. Well, these children don't have anyone to come to. And sometimes, they say, well, if I have a flat tire,
who do I
call?
Yeah.
Or if I run into a problem, just like we did when we were teens.
Yeah.
Who do we
pick
call?
up our phone and call our mom?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's so important that they just have a place to just call home and hang their hat for a little bit, even through Christmas break. And I think it's all cyclical. It all comes back around, and family is what you make of it. Friends are family. You can pick those ones. The other ones maybe not. But I think family is all what it is about, and that's what we need to kind of get back to with these kiddos that are in foster care, even the little ones. And that's why we have foster homes. It's a home. It's a real home for them.
Yes, and we're always seeking foster homes.
I know.
Always. And if we had a foster home for this little girl, this 15-year-old, she would not have been there in that room at the church. The room is beautiful.
Sure. Yes.
It's beautiful. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
You should pass by. It's at Westside Community Church. You should pass by and see it. The room is beautiful, but it's not ideal.
Yes.
Yes, these children belong to families, to a foster mom, to a foster dad, someone that can give them one-on-one attention.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I love your story. Thank you so much for coming. You want to say your name again?
Yes.
Your, who you work for, emails, phone numbers.
All of that. My name is Sandy Moody, and I am from CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates. And what we do is we advocate for children that are in foster care that are here in the county. And so we train those volunteers and support them so that they can advocate for those kiddos that are in foster care. My phone number is area code 915-225-5214, extension 109. And also I can be reached via email at smoody, Moody, at casaofelpaso.org. And you can go ahead and check out our website at www.casaofelpaso.org, and they'll have lots of information about volunteerism, what we do, how it works, including our volunteer application. So if you're feeling like you want to give back a little bit, that would be great, and I'd be happy to get your application.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you came. And
Thank
I'm glad
you so
were
much
here.
for having
Thank you.
me.
It's very good information. I mentioned this to you earlier. I was doing something outside in my front yard, which I never go out to my front yard. But I saw a neighbor pass by, and she asked me, she knows I work for CPS,
Sure.
and so she stopped and she said, I want to be a CASA volunteer. How do I do that? And so I gave her your information.
Yeah.
And so it's very good information that you're providing. Yes, people can give back in so many ways. Do people have free time?
I mean,
Yes.
I volunteered I worked full time when I volunteered. I made it work. I had communication with my supervisor. He knew where I was, what I was doing, and so it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
But the best thing that I liked about it was the preparation it gave me at that 15 hours a month that I did volunteer for CASA to the 24 hours a day that foster parenting was. And so I felt like I get a lot of folks that do want to do foster parenting, and they're like, oh, but I'm not real sure. I'm like, CASA is a great kind of gateway to really get you to know the system, get your feet wet, figure out where all the major players are, who does what, and then jump over to
Yes.
foster care. I feel like you're better prepared.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad. What is the website once again?
It's www.casaofelpaso.org.
Okay, great. Thank
So,
you. Thank you
yes,
so much
thank
for
you.
stopping by. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
for having
coming
me.
over and accepting my invitation. Well, if you have any questions or if you need additional information, please contact me as well. I'm almost available 24 hours as well.
Almost.
915-309-3595. Thank you so much for having us. God bless you.